Okay, welcome back. Part 2 of the Zuckermann Hubert Clavichord review. You've probably already noticed, but I haven't mentioned it yet, the soundboard already has a crack in it. I believe the left part is along a glue joint, and then it veers off into the wood itself along a ray, or whatever you call this. Yes, I installed it when it was quite dry, and I think it was in the low 30s humidity. It's probably in around 50 right now. Yes, exactly. Exactly 50% right now, and it gets significantly more humid as the summer wears on here. And I know last year, even in the worst of the humid weather, it might have closed up a bit, I can't recall exactly, but it was definitely still there, so that's a bit disappointing. I guess I'll play it a little bit, just so you don't say it's a clavichord review without any playing. I don't know how all the difference between the plain and overspun wound strings will come through. There is a difference. It's not stunningly extreme, but it is. But the wound ones are better. So these two, the low E and F here, are still the plain strings. And then I'm going to play the F sharp to G sharp, and those are all overwound. So there's definitely a more harmonic interest in the wound strings. And I suppose you actually do get some inharmonicity at some point in the bass. Obviously not like a piano, but a little bit that the wound strings should minimize. It definitely makes more sense to have the wound. It balances out the bass better. Like I said, this is not, has no musical work done on it. No tangent setting or anything. Anyway, one thing I forgot to mention is that when the shipping package arrived, it wasn't terrible, but it definitely could have been better. There was a little bit of wood damage. Fortunately, nothing major. I think part of the lid has a little bit of a chip somewhere, but it wasn't anything I was going to worry about. One of the funnier things is that in the big bag of hardware and parts and whatever, once again, getting back to the lead, they just threw a coil of heavy lead wire in there, just bouncing around amongst all the other parts, and a whole bunch of things had become stained or whatever, covered in lead. Anyway, it was kind of a poor, between the lead and the scratched up hinges, and yeah, it just could have been better. What can I say? Okay. One other little thing that falls into the just do some woodworking, even though the manual doesn't say it. The bottom, the main base plate for the whole instrument, big thick piece of wood, was about 3 or 4 millimeters too deep, too wide. So I had to cut that down. It was obviously not terribly difficult to do, but still getting it the exact right size. Well, every little bit is a place for screwing up for us non-expert woodworkers. So that was a bit of a shock. The lid. Oh yes, the lid. I'd almost forgotten about that. The lid You can see the panels have a little routed detail in there, little trim. For some reason, they don't come up to the corner. You'd think, oh yeah, route it so that it matches these pieces, the routing there. Duh. Oh, you can see it better in that lighting. Yeah, for some reason they don't match. And but the lid, the pieces, as they came were even worse. Like they were just random lengths. I can't remember the exact details of how they'd screwed it up, but you know where these little details ended was just, you know, some of them ended here. It was just a total disaster. So I actually, for some reason, they made me send back the pieces, the defective pieces, and they sent me new ones or something, or fix those. I don't know what they did. Anyway, it's still not great, as you can see, but better than it was. It was really, really terrible. I couldn't believe it. Maybe it was more noticeable on top? I'm not sure now. I mean, you can see it's got that same problem, like why they wouldn't extend that detail out to the piece there. Oh well. One more stupidity. The back to the bottom was wide. It also has a bit of a twist to it. You know, it wasn't the best wood, or it wasn't quite seasoned, or who knows. Not quite flattened out. So that was a bit of a pain. I mean, it's basically still there. You know, if you took a straight edge to the base or the keyboard, you'd see a bit of a concavity to it, I believe. So that wasn't the best thing. I had to deal with that somehow. I'm leaving the best for last, by the way. Narrowed over. Oh yes. Okay. I guess we're there. Yeah, by far, the worst thing was how badly they had made the keyboard. And to my mind, I mean, that's kind of job number one. You're buying a kit, and really making a keyboard for an amateur would be the hardest thing, and the thing you most want to be perfect. But no, total disaster. I'll give you a few examples of how bad it was. I actually managed to fix it up to some degree. I'm amazed. I did it without destroying the keyboard. As you might know, in historic keyboards, most Ds have wider tails. And that's the case here, except they were basically random. You can still see it to some degree. Let's see. That D, maybe I should get some lighting. I don't know. Anyway, you have to take my word for it. That D is pretty wide right now. That one's similar, maybe a little narrower. This one's definitely narrower, and you can see it's off center. Obviously, it should be centered. That's a pretty key thing. This one's fairly narrow. This one's fairly wide again. That is the most indicative thing on the keyboard of how bad it was. I got some numbers. Yeah, okay. DD. The smallest detail was 13.7 millimeters. The biggest was 16.7. Yeah, you heard that right. 13.7 to 16.7. Total disaster. There were some other keys, like non-Ds, that actually had, like one or two, that actually had wider tails than some of the narrower Ds. Like, it was just so poorly made. I mean, if one of Hubert's apprentices had presented him with a keyboard like that, the master would have thrown it in the fire and hit the apprentice a few times and then told him to learn how to do it right. Anyway, I amazingly managed to, probably using totally wrong tools for it, probably using a disc sander or something. I can't remember. I blocked it from my memory. But I actually managed to get it into half-decent shape without destroying it. What I should have done, it was probably too late. It was probably too late for me to send it back without having, wasted 100 hours of building time or something. I don't know. So that is my biggest recommendation. If you decide to go with anything from Zuckermann, make sure you talk to them first and make sure you have something in place, in writing perhaps, of how do you get your money back? How do you return defective parts for replacement at no charge to you? And of course, part of it was, my excitement. I was so excited to have the kit and be working on it, and I probably had noticed that the keyboard was a bit wonky at some point before getting to that part of the assembly. And I was just too excited to give a damn. It was just too, didn't want to think about all the things that could go wrong. But yeah, if you decide to get anything from Zuckermann, this or anything else, have a very close, dispassionate look at everything when it arrives, and if the keyboard is a piece of crap, send it back, along with any associated pieces. Obviously, if the keyboard goes back, the balance rail would have to go back because it's matched to it, and I guess the back rail with the guide pins in this case. Yeah, don't let yourself be screwed up by that problem. Very disappointing, very shocking. And even after all that, no apologies, no nothing. It was like, well, what's the problem? That's okay, it's close enough. Unbelievable. Anyway, what else? I think that pretty much covers it. I'll play a little bit more just to give you a... And once again, yes, it is not. It is totally unfinished. I think it really has promise. It has a good sound. And, yeah. I'm just a little bit scared of that final musical finishing work, because once it's done, and that defines how the instrument's going to play and feel. But I will get to it soon. I'm encouraged by finally having gotten around to making these wound strings, and they're working out. So I think once they're done, I will be motivated to finish all the mechanical, musical work. Well, I guess that's about it. Do I recommend it? Yes. Yeah, it's... if anybody has experience with any other similar kits, I'd be very interested to hear it. This might be the best, musically speaking, but I don't know. Would I recommend it? Yes, but talk to them first. Make sure you have something in writing that if you're unhappy with anything, they'll fix it. Yeah, and when it arrives, once you get over the initial excitement, take a long, hard, dispassionate look at all the parts, especially the keyboard. And if it's at all wonky, send it back. It's not worth having to deal with. And as far as the strings go, well, you can buy theirs. You can. There are other people out there, a handful, who make them. I don't know if I should be offering to make any, but I suppose that's always a possibility. Yeah, that pretty much covers it. Like I said, there's a part 0 where I played it a couple of years ago, and it's kind of out of tune, and not much better condition than it is now, but you know, it makes a sound. Makes a promising sound. And I'll definitely be posting lots of videos of it once it gets working and playing all properly. So, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.